The Diaclone Reboot's plot is divided into 6 acts, numbered 0 through 5. Act 0 is a recap of the old Diaclone story, because the reboot is, despite the name, a sequel to the old 80s toyline. And so, without further ado, let's go through the remaining 5 acts. In the year 2020X, the Marauders had occupied the moon once again. Even worse, on the far side of the moon they had constructed a gigantic fortress which contained a device which could relay Freezon energy directly back to planet Marauder. With their home planet's energy reserves nearing their limits, the Marauders enacted a final desperate ploy, blasting the Earth with fragments of the moon's surface, after which the planet's Freezon would be free for the taking. To prevent this, Diaclone enacted Operation Ragnarok, a full-scale assault on the Marauder lunar fortress which marshaled 50 times more troops than any previous operation. And so the final battle was upon us. The shield and cannons of the fortress stopped the Diaclone army in their tracks, but a desperate maneuver from the powered suit corps temporarily shut the shield down. Using this chance, Diaclone destroyed the fortress and damaged the Freezon transfer device. In its damaged state, the device sent a hypercharged ball of Freezon plasma which directly hit planet Marauder, destroying the dying planet completely. Diaclone was victorious. After the destruction of planet Marauder, peace finally returned to the Earth. Humanity, having learned of the potential Freezon energy held and the existence of extraterrestrial life, decided to venture into space in the hopes of starting peaceful and diplomatic communication with other aliens. The Diaclone Corps, its original duty now ended, was reformed as an expeditionary force. Its machines were disarmed and a large spaceport was established on the moon's surface. In high orbit, the space station CX-1, a hub for travel within the solar system, was constructed. In 2030X, the hyperspeed space travel Freezon drive was completed, dramatically reducing travel time between planets. Experimental space colonies and construction bases were built at every planet of the solar system, and new materials found on these planets further advanced human science. Suddenly, the Chrysi Planitia base on Mars received a transmission from a patrol ship in the asteroid belt. Emergency signal! This is patrol ship DF3. We have encountered a huge artificial structure of unknown purpose. We are attempting contact. Our position from Mars origin is... But the signal was suddenly cut off. In the Mars General Headquarters, the images retrieved from the lost patrol ship were projected onto the central screen. Once the operator zoomed in on the bridge of the structure, cries of astonishment could be heard throughout the room. The screen showed eerie, insect-like humanoids. There was no mistake about it. They were back. The structure was a Marauder space fortress. Though their home planet had been destroyed, many of the Marauders' military leaders had survived by escaping to one of their colonized planets, and then reorganized around an artificial ring world. To them, the loss of planet Marauder was merely the loss of the resources it contained, and therein lied the reason for their new invasion of Earth. To not only steal our Freezon, but to take the planet itself as raw materials. To commence their re-invasion, the Marauders had incorporated science and technology from the worlds they had conquered and added ruthless mercenaries into their ranks, making their military might even greater than during the first invasion. And so their counterattack had begun on the other side of the galaxy. The Mars General Headquarters braced itself against the Space Fortress's attack. The fortress launched countless beams that rained down upon the Martian soil, destroying everything they touched. The whole planet was covered in a dust cloud from the dirt blown into the atmosphere, and in the darkness the footsteps of the Marauders' new war machines could be heard. The entire Martian branch of the Diaclone Corps prepared for combat and all their machines were launched. However, they were now only armed with tools for mining and construction and couldn't damage the new Marauder machines. To make matters worse, the Marauders' blaster rays were far more powerful than before, and easily sliced through the armor of the Diaclone machines. The Mars General Headquarters were completely destroyed in a matter of hours. The news of the new invasion and the destruction of the Mars base shook all of Diaclone to its core. The Marauder fortress warped into the Earth's sky, right above Tokyo City. Their target was clear. Landmaster, the supercomputer that managed the entire Diaclone Corps. Tokyo City engaged its defenses. Shields were put up, civilians were evacuated to bomb shelters, and the Diaclone Capital Defense Corps gathered around the central dome, which housed Landmaster. With a terrible flash of light, the attack began. The space fortress could be seen through gaps in the clouds as countless destructive beams rained down upon the city. Landmaster shifted into defense mode, its dome retracting a kilometer underground as the defense corps brought out their trump card, a battalion of 12 robot bases, each with a cannon on both arms. Their 24 Friesen beam cannons simultaneously opened fire upon the space fortress. Their continuous gunfire whittled away the space fortress's gun emplacements, finally ending the barrage upon the city. All Diaclone machines converged upon the now silent fortress, hoping to seize victory. But it was a trap. A gate opened beneath the fortress, and countless Varuder war machines swarmed out. Though many of them were shot down by the robot bases' powerful cannons, the bases were quickly expending their energy, and the seemingly endless Varuder forces soon overpowered them. The invading Varuders finally penetrated the heart of Tokyo City and surrounded Landmaster's dome. Its walls were quickly melted by their concentrated fire, exposing Landmaster. And then, a Varuder machine suddenly exploded, shortly followed by several others as their siege dissolved. The explosions were caused by a new, unknown kind of battle machine. Groups of fighters engaged the flying Varuders, while on the ground they changed into a humanoid form and attacked in platoons. With armor strong enough to repel the enemy's attacks and weaponry which outmatched the Varuders, the tide of battle quickly turned. Soon they were poised to attack the space fortress itself, but it warped away before they got the chance. Tokyo's crisis had ended, but the space fortress had only been an advanced guard sent to determine the Earth's war potential. The enemy's main force resided on the other side of the galaxy, far beyond humanity's reach. The squadrons of unknown battle machines were in fact the new Diabattles V2 prototypes, and had been sent from the lunar command base. They had been constructed in secret in case of an unknown intergalactic threat. Thanks to a miniaturized Friesen generator and armor constructed from the newly found super-hard Diachrome, it had proven more than capable of repelling the new Varuder forces. Using the fighting data acquired from Diabattles V2, Diaclone started developing new war machines and infrastructure. Named the Neo Attack System, this new system was prepared to repel the Varuders no matter where in the solar system they attacked, wagering both humanity's survival and the very existence of the Earth itself. Good evening, and welcome to Droyer's Diaclone Reboot reviews. In this first episode I'll be taking a look at the Dianaut. The Dianaut may not look like much with its small size, but I think you'll find that it's in fact more than meets the eye. So with that said, let's take a closer look at it. And here we have him, clad in his Diatector with its distinctive logo. Despite his small size, in fact only being slightly less than 3 centimeters tall, he has an impressive 9 points of articulation in the hips, the knees, the shoulder, the elbow, and the waist. Though the waist can only bow, it cannot at all move side to side. And unfortunately, the same is true for the shoulder, which means that you can't really make him do a proper salute. I can do it if I force it like this, but as soon as I let go, it doesn't work, really. He also has magnets on the bottom of his feet, which makes it so that you can put him on the fridge, because you're very proud of him. Yes, you are. We're all very proud of you. The face has some impressive sculpting, but unfortunately it doesn't really have any paint applications, which can make him look a bit faceless. Luckily, however, that was fixed for the second version of the Dianaut. The only difference between the first kind of Dianaut and the second is the fact that the second has its visor down, which alleviates the face problem. With the visor down, the Diatector becomes capable of withstanding incredible pressure, and with its own oxygen supply means that the Diatector can function both deep undersea and in the outmost reaches of space. Though women have always been part of Diaclone, the old Dianaut toys from the 80s were a bit too abstract to be able to tell things like gender. This is no longer the case with this, the somewhat awkwardly named Diawoman-Naut. As a side note, in the interest of gender equality, I will from this moment forward refer to their male counterparts as Diaman-Nauts. The Womanauts have all the articulation the Manauts do, with one extra. The ability to move their heads, whereas the Manauts' heads are entirely fused to their bodies. They can even nod a little bit, so it's not just side-to-side swivel, which is quite nice, I think. They actually don't share any parts at all with the Manauts, with the most obvious difference being the notably smaller chest emblem, though with similar aesthetic of armor, I wouldn't judge you for not noticing the differences at a glance. Much like the Manauts, there are versions with the visor up and down, as well as a third version, which is unique to the Womanauts. One with no helmet at all, and instead a head of hair. As I said earlier, their articulation is quite impressive for their size. But with that said, had they not been part of Diaclone, and therefore almost all came with a bigger robot toy, I probably would not be very interested in these on their own. With that said though, as little accessories essentially, they are quite fun. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you join me for the next one, where I'll be taking a look at the first actual robot toy as released as part of Diaclone. An extra shout out to Transformerland.com for translating the old Diaclone magazines I used for last episode's script, and Microman.tumblr.com for translating the Diaclone Reboot story of Takar Thomas' webpage, which I used for this episode's script.